So really I need to be into a hospital where I could have everything done at once. I could have the leg looked at. If there's a needle or a pin left surgically embedded, left strategically embedded, sorry, it can be surgically removed with image guided foreign body removal or some type of operation, so I can straighten up my leg, remove the foreign body that they've embedded from between the muscle groups in that location. And whilst I was at that hospital, I could also be into the maxillofacial specialist, so I could have all the broken teeth cut out all at the same time. Now that would be a dream come true. Waking up in a hospital with my leg functional again, with a small incision at the top of the thigh groin, where they've removed whatever was embedded in there, got my leg functional again, and also all of the teeth that are broken that have rotting and festering in my mouth, they've been removed. I've just woken up in a hospital bed, and it's a normal hospital, and they've done what's right. They've got the problem caused by KGH reversed. They've surgically removed the arthrogram needle or pin, which has been left embedded there, which I believe to have been embedded there, which feels like it is. It's the only real logical explanation for the cause of the problem. And it's the same with the teeth, isn't it? It's just like basically a couple of there's some rotten roots in the gum line. That's the cause of all the abscesses, inflammation, all of the excruciating discomfort. As soon as you take the rotten roots out of the gum line, the problem's gone. And that's the same with the surgical pin needle embedded in the upper thigh groin triangle. Serious problem with the leg, but as soon as it's surgically removed, my leg will be functional again. But the problem being is out here in Northamptonshire with the Strategic Health Authority and what they're instituting, they're not doing anything. They're purposefully covering up what they've had done to me. It's a form of methodical control whereby they completely destroy someone's life whilst having that person clinically afflicted and suffering in excruciating discomfort. All of this stuff when I first arrived there. Uh, the pain tolerance, discomfort, sensation threshold of the victim, and all of the rest of it, whereby they can induce, this severe discomfort, and how they look at measures of tolerance and all the rest of it as they torture their victims. It is basically a bunch of NHS sadists, and I cannot foresee them doing anything righteous to fix the problem with the leg that they've caused. It's feeling more and more as though it's going to take private x-ray, private CT scan in a private hospital, and I just don't have the money for it. They've got me trapped, unemployed, afflicted, with no benefits, no income, with a mouthful of rotting teeth and a leg with a needle strategically embedded in the top of it. So I'm very, very dysfunctional. That was the other thing when I first moved there. This Gary Dixon that lived there had this book by Gary E. Schwartz that he had modelled himself on this physician. And in the book, it's talking about how to induce a disordered biopsychosocial functioning for the victim, how to induce dysregulation, disorder, disfigurement, like in 5 steps, 5 different ways to induce that type of discomfort and dysregulation. They call it dysregulation theory and dyslateralization theory. And this is a keystone aspect of what that involves. It involves these bizarre orthopedic contraptions and devices by which they can control and afflict their victims. Whether it's Dr. Schreiber's Kopf-Forte for children, they have chin strap, right through to the orthopedic mistreatment of adults with the embedding of needles in the groin triangle upper thigh. Like the whole manual is like a doctrinal clinical manual that's dedicated to the misappropriation of clinical social science with the strategic intent to methodically abuse. So when it comes to their occultist ritualist based exploits here, that's kind of what was going on. He had this all of them geared up at Clarendon House and with the general practitioners, and plus they had this manual, this like clinical manual of how to go about inducing a disordered biopsychosocial function and how to manipulate someone's homeostasis into a state of anti-homeostasis so the organism cannot survive within that environment. And that's what they were doing here, manipulating all of the environmental variables, getting the National Health Service to afflict and injure, torture, incapacitate. Like basically, you put a needle in someone's leg and the person can't walk anymore. They can't jog, can they? They can't cycle, they can't swim. They get no cardiovascular exercise. They get no respiratory exercise. And in time, if you leave a needle strategically embedded in someone's leg, groin triangle, for long enough, it will probably kill them. It's not natural to have a fucking piece of metal strategically skewed into your groin that's not supposed to be there. Um, and that's what they're involved here in Northamptonshire. This is their Nazi needlecraft. The tying in arrangements. Gabby was aggrandising and glorifying what he had arranged with the National Health Service with this movie that he'd made where he's weaving ropes back and forth, as if to say these are our tying in arrangements with one another. So that not only do they have their victims tortured by the clinical directorate, but they also aggrandised the abuses that get instituted with this vainglorious pornography that they place upon the internet. So all of these, their social peers and all of those that are in the know can get their jollies off over the suffering of the victim. That bizarre, so that seems to be what was going on. You've got the manual by Jerome Elsinger with a chapter by Gabby E. Schwartz. You've got Dixon playing it off as though he was Gabby E. Schwartz. And that was as kind of the pitch that was being applied here. So along with the general practitioners on the headlands, Clarendon House NHS Trust and KGH up the road, Kettering General Hospital, they had them all doing their bidding here behind the scenes, violating their victim, whether it's Dr. S.S. Tandy on the headlands or whether it was the radiology department with the misappropriation of the arthrogram procedure so they could disfigure my leg, put the needle pin in. Kingpin, Gabby Dixon, the Kingpin, no different than his gaffer, John Bacon, at Kingsbridge Circus, Haverhill Hill, Romford, Essex, in the Royal Liberty of Havering at Ebalwa. They had exactly the same pitch there, with Haroldwood Hospital violating the youngsters, the teenagers that they put the pitch onto. So when it came to the misappropriation of clinical social science and surgery and Baconianism, and playing a part of Kingpin. This isn't the first time they've had my leg pinned this time, and Gabby's played it off as a Kingpin in it. Monarch of Mercy, a pitch with a microvolt dial on the RF field generator, upside down Winookie, St George's flag in the kitchen window, movies of what appears to be my eldest daughter held upside down, being choked out 5 stops down the train track. Target camcorder with a target camcorder lens, and whilst he's targeting her, they've got me up at KGH under a target machine in radiology for the arthrogram procedure, and they're embedding a needle in my leg. Plus the BDSM movie that he made, the GIMP movie is just a way of them saying, look, Sean, you're GIMP-legged, you're limp-legged, lame-legged, and in the bonds of iniquity. And all like this strange, bizarre, fucking occultist-based pervert pornography that they were making to aggrandise the fact that they were having me tortured, afflicted. So yeah, not the first time that one of them's kingpinned it off, and this time it was Dixon, but before it was the gaffer. That's the go for puppet master of his puppet pornography, Gabby Dixon, and before it was John Bacon over in the Royal Liberty of Havering at Ebalwa. And they had Haroldwood Hospital performing operations upon myself that they shouldn't have been performing as a child. So it's not the first time I've had the NHS methodically violating me on their behalf, doing things to me that they shouldn't be doing in order to torture or afflict or clinically butcher or incapacitate or overpower and stupefy. A main part of their power trip, so say whether it was Gabby Dixon with the microvolt dial on the RF field generator or his gaffer with the handheld stun gun in microamps, they're into electrocuting people, torturing folk. Plus, another major aspect to their power trip involves deploying the police or the National Health Service, members of the clinical social sciences, to do their dirty work for them. So it comes all sanitary and clean cut. It seems above board and legit what's going down, but really it's been preemptively orchestrated so they can ritually, clinically exploit their victims. Where was I going with this? So yeah, whether it was an example of that would be the enforced disappearance of persons. So when they're having the NHS or the police jump their victims, abduct their victims, like back then it was like the gaffer in his yellow transit van in a Sirocco, and that's what he had the police doing on his behalf and the National Health Service. And out here, Gabby Dixon had the similar pitch, didn't he? He had PC Kelly Dixon, PC Johnson doing his dirty work, and a couple of others. And plus he had Wilmot Dixon Group subcontracted to Home Group, with Home Group preemptively setting up this strategic malice. Plus he had like in the hospital, there was a nurse called Dixon, and there was a few of them in it. It's what's her? I can't remember her name now. Kate Dixon, I think. So Gary was doing a very similar thing, pitching them to deploying them to violate his victim that he's having tortured. No different than his gaffer, John Bacon, the Bacons and the Dixons, with the pitch in the Royal Liberty of Havering Hattie Bower, or in the 6 year stint when I lived in St Albans, Hertfordshire, when a lot of things took place there between '96 and 2002 with the orchestrating of all types of offending. I've moved here on my 30th birthday. Here he is lying in wait, lives in the flat just there. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on here? Like, what type of block of flats have I moved into? And in less than 1 month, they've violated me with the dentist. And in less than half a year of being there, they've had me clinically incapacitated with a needle embedded in my groin triangle. The same year, he started posting all of that weird fetish pornography and the abuse movies that he had on camcorder to the internet to wind me up, to let me know, to say, haha, look, I've had one over on you. You're tortured, afflicted, hobbling around, limping about, and I'm the one who's been a major key, a major influencing factor in what has taken place here. And plus, I'm aggrandizing the fact that I'm having this done to you with bizarre fucking fetish pornography and movies of me targeting what I believe to be your eldest daughter 5 stops down the train track with a target camcorder with an adapted target lens on it, whilst I've got you up at Kettering General Hospital's radiology department under a target machine whilst they strategically insert a needle surgical pin into your groin triangle to keep your leg clinically disfigured whilst I'm targeting your daughter. It was no different in Havering with the gaffer. Only difference is over there they pitch it this way, mother and son, innit? Whereas out here, Gary Dixon and the gaffer got to pitch it the other way. In Kettering, they've done it father and daughter. They've been targeting her to wind me up, making movies to aggrandise the fact to get under my skin, whilst also having me strategically targeted at Kettering General Hospital with the embedding of the needle. Nazism. This is how their Nazism works.